Hello my brothers and sisters, welcome to another video here on the channel. A space created to strengthen your faith even when everything seems to fall apart around you. Today we will reflect on the hard moments of life, those days when the heart feels heavy, the mind is confused, and it seems like the whole world turned against us. The Bible does not hide human suffering. On the contrary, it reveals that from the beginning pain has been part of the human journey, but it has never lived in vain. Jesus, in John 16:33, told us, "In this world you will have tribulation, but take heart. I have overcome the world." This promise is clear and direct. He did not hide that there would be tears, but he guaranteed that his victory over the world would also become our source of courage, hope, and perseverance. That is why, even on days when nothing seems to make sense, faith becomes our anchor and keeps us from sinking in the middle of the storm. Hard moments are like deserts, long, dry, and silent. But in the desert, Israel learned complete dependence on God, and you too can learn to trust beyond circumstances. When everything you know fails, only the Lord remains. And in that place of brokenness, the deepest and most transformative experiences of Christian life are born. Think of Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold as a slave, and thrown unjustly into prison. Each defeat seemed final, but all were part of a greater plan. What looked like tragedy turned into victory. God used every tear of Joseph to shape a heart capable of ruling Egypt and saving entire nations. The same happens in your life. What today looks like destruction may actually be preparing you for positions and opportunities you cannot yet understand. In Romans 8:28, we read, "We know that all things work together for the good of those who love God. Not some things, but all things, even the bad ones." This promise is a relief because it guarantees that even the worst day of your life will be used by God as part of an eternal purpose. Hard moments are also instruments of revelation. It is in the valley that we discover who true friends are, and above all, how present God himself is. David knew this when he wrote in Psalm 34:18, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." That means, at the very moment you think God is far away, he is actually closer than ever, silently holding and caring for you. Every tear that falls from your face is seen by the Creator. Nothing is wasted. Heaven records your pain as seeds for future testimonies. Maybe you think your suffering is proof of abandonment, but the cross shows us exactly the opposite. God was never closer to humanity than in the day of pain. Jesus wept, Jesus suffered, Jesus was rejected. That reminds us there is no human pain he does not understand or is unwilling to carry with us. Hard moments are not the final word. The resurrection proves that after the cross comes life, after the night comes the dawn, after the tear comes joy. When you walk through a valley, remember, the valley is not the destination, it is the path. You were not born to remain in pain, but to cross it with hope. Every trial is an invitation to grow. Just as muscles only grow with resistance, faith becomes strong when it faces the weight of storms. Paul knew this when he declared in 2 Corinthians 12:9 that God's grace is sufficient and his power is made perfect in weakness. Paul discovered strength where there was only pain. That means what weakens you can also be the very door through which the power of God manifests supernaturally in your life. Hard moments also teach patience. Waiting is not easy, but many times it is in the silence of waiting that God writes the most beautiful chapters of our story. The story of Job is an example. Even surrounded by losses, he declared, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Job 1:21. This verse shows that true faith is not based on what we have, but on who God is, even when everything seems lost. If you have lost something precious, remember, God never loses control. What he allows, he also uses. Nothing escapes his sovereignty. Every scar tells a story, and in God's kingdom, even marks of pain are transformed into testimonies of victory and perseverance. Hard moments shape character. They strip away arrogance, break our pride, and teach us that without God we cannot take a single step forward. Without trials, we would remain shallow. Without pain, we would be fragile. It is in battle that soldiers are forged, and God is training you for something greater. Deserts also reveal miracles. It was in the desert that manna fell. Water came from the rock, and a cloud guided Israel by day and night. That means your difficult season can also be the stage for miracles you would never witness in times of abundance. You may not understand now, but every detail has meaning. Time will show that every tear was a brick in the foundation of the faith you now carry. Hard moments also bring us closer to others. Only those who have cried truly understand the value of wiping away someone else's tears. And that is exactly what Christ expects of us, that our wounds become bridges of compassion to heal others who still suffer. When you rise from the ground, remember to pull someone else up with you. Your story can be the hand that keeps another from giving up. In Isaiah 43:2, God promised that when we pass through the waters and the fire, he will be with us. He didn't say if, he said when. That promise confirms that hard moments are inevitable, but also guarantees we will never be alone in any of them. The presence of God does not remove the valley, but sustains us inside it. That is the certainty that transforms fear into courage. The Christian life is not the absence of pain, it is the constant presence of hope. That is what sets us apart. We have a solid rock amid the waves. Hard moments may feel eternal, but the Bible reminds us in 1 Peter 5:10 that suffering lasts a little while, and afterwards comes restoration. That fills us with hope, because what is temporary cannot destroy what is eternal. Pain has an expiration date, but the glory of God is forever. Every hard moment is like a heavy page in a greater book. It may be painful, but it is never the end of the story. Remember, if there is still breath, there is still purpose. If you are alive, God still has plans that even pain cannot cancel. When everything fails, God remains. When everything is gone, He stays. When everyone turns away, He draws closer. That is our hope. Hard moments may feel like caves, but even in caves, God speaks. Elijah heard the gentle whisper of God when he thought he was alone and defeated. That shows us God does not always speak in thunder, but often in silence. And it is in the silence of pain that He teaches deep lessons. Your suffering is not a sign of weak faith. Many heroes of faith cried, fled, and grew weary, yet all were lifted by the same God who wants to lift you today. Suffering does not have the last word. Christ defeated death. And if death was defeated, then no tear is final in the light of eternity. Remember that tears also water seeds. Many times what you cry over today will become the harvest of joy that comes in God's appointed time. Waiting is painful, but those who trust in the Lord learn that every minute of silence is preparation for miracles not yet revealed. Hard moments are also invitations to sincere prayer. Those who have never knelt in despair hardly understand the power of crying out with all their heart. It is in the sleepless nights of anguish that deep prayers arise, and in those prayers we feel the gentle touch of the Holy Spirit comforting us. When the heart is broken, prayer does not need fancy words, it only needs honesty. God understands tears, groans, and silences. In Philippians 4:6-7, Paul instructs us not to be anxious, but to present our requests to God in prayer, and the peace of Christ will guard our hearts. That peace does not mean the absence of problems, but the presence of serenity in the midst of pain, something the world can neither give nor explain. Many times, you do not need the problem to disappear immediately, but you do need the peace of God to hold your mind until victory comes. Hard moments are like storms. We cannot stop them, but we can anchor ourselves in God's presence, knowing the storm will pass. Just as the rainbow appears after the rain, hope also rises after tears. No storm lasts forever. The enemy tries to use suffering to paralyze you, but God uses the same suffering to push you into your purpose. What destroys some strengthens others. You decide whether pain will become a prison or a trampoline. In Christ, every valley can become a staircase of growth. It is in the fire of trials that the greatest testimonies are born. People who inspire do not have easy stories, but scars that shine like trophies of divine grace. Perhaps your struggle today is financial loss, illness, or loneliness. But in all of them, the answer is the same. Trust that God is still in control. Human control is limited, but God's control is eternal. He sees the end from the beginning and already has a way prepared before the pain even arrives. That is why you must never confuse silence with absence. God may be working behind invisible scenes while you think nothing is happening. Your faithfulness is tested in bad days, not in good ones. It is easy to worship in the palace, but true worship is born in the valley of the shadow of death. David knew this when he wrote in Psalm 23, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." That certainty turns fear into courage, not because the valley stops existing, but because we know the shepherd walks with us in every step. Hard moments also teach gratitude. Sometimes it takes losing something to learn to value what truly matters and what was always there. Pain takes our eyes off temporary things and directs us toward what is eternal. It teaches us to see with heaven's perspective. Many people found Jesus on the hardest day of their lives. Pain was the door through which they entered the grace that now sustains their souls. Maybe today you think your life is over, but tomorrow you may look back and realize this valley was the place of your encounter with God. In Lamentations 3:22-23, Jeremiah declared that the Lord's mercies are new every morning. That is proof that no suffering lasts forever. Every sunrise is a gift. If you woke up today, it means God's faithfulness continues to write chapters in your story. The enemy wants to convince you the valley is eternal, but the word guarantees that even the longest winter yields to the sun of Christ's righteousness. The secret is not escaping pain, but learning to walk through it with faith. Those who walk through it come out stronger, more mature, and more like Christ. Hard moments are not just obstacles, they are also steps. You don't climb without effort, but every difficult step takes you closer to victory. When you look back, you will see that every tear was essential, every desert was necessary, every trial was part of a greater plan. Do not despise your valleys. They are spiritual classrooms where lessons are taught that palaces could never offer. And every lesson learned in pain becomes authority to teach others who still walk through their own battles. God wastes nothing. Even the deepest wound can become a source of healing when placed in the hands of the great physician. It is at the bottom of the pit that many discovered Christ is the rock. When everything collapses, He becomes our only firm foundation. If you feel like you are falling, remember, God's hand is longer than any abyss, and He always reaches for His children. No valley is too deep and no desert too long to prevent the faithfulness of the Lord. He always arrives at the exact time. Pain does not define your identity. It only reveals who you are in Christ. You are not the wound, you are God's beloved child. Every tear can be fuel for faith. Every loss can be a seed for something new. Nothing is wasted in God's kingdom. Everything is transformed. Do not let bad moments steal your worship. Sing even through the tears, because worship opens heavens even on the darkest days. Paul and Silas, imprisoned and wounded, chose to worship instead of complain, and their worship shook the chains and opened doors miraculously. That shows us what you do in pain may define what God does after the pain. Worship attracts deliverance. Hard moments do not last forever, but fruits of faith last for eternity. Do not cling to what is temporary, live for what is eternal. Maybe today your heart is in pieces, but remember, God is a specialist in rebuilding what seemed irreparable. He makes all things new. The same God who resurrected Lazarus after 4 days is able to bring life to what you already considered completely lost, no matter how late it seems. With God, it is never too late. His intervention comes at the perfect time, neither early nor late. Pain may be a detour, but never the end. Those who trust in the Lord know that even broken roads lead to the right destination. If life knocked you down, stand up. If it wounded you, let yourself be healed. If it paralyzed you, trust that God still has movement for your story. You are not alone, even if no one sees it. All of heaven is working in your favor because you are loved and kept by God. Weeping may last through the night, but joy comes in the morning, says Psalm 32:5. This promise is certain for every child of God. No matter how dark the night, it cannot stop the sunrise, so it is with your pain. No darkness can stop the Lord's light. God always writes the last chapter, and He never writes tragedy as the ending for His children. He always writes victory and abundant life. Hard moments test our trust, but also expand our testimony. The greater the trial, the greater the story you will have to tell. Every apparent defeat can hide a great spiritual victory. The enemy thinks he has one, but God turns it into a testimony of overcoming. Do not fear tomorrow. The same God who took care of you yesterday continues to sustain you today and is already preparing your future. The future belongs to God, and that is why we do not need to live anxious. Every step is already under His watchful eye. Even in the midst of pain, choose to trust. Trust in God is the key that opens doors of hope in dark corridors. When faith becomes your guide, fear loses power. And when hope blooms, even deserts begin to show flowers. Hard moments are inevitable, but hopelessness is optional. Those who choose faith always find a reason to keep going. Perseverance is the most precious fruit born from the soil of pain. It makes us strong enough to face what once seemed impossible. Every battle won in secret is a treasure no one can steal, and every hidden scar is a medal before heaven. If life were easy, faith would not be necessary. But because there are valleys, we have the chance to prove we trust beyond circumstances. God's love not only protects us from bad moments, but also sustains us inside them, turning tears into strength and sorrow into wisdom. When you do not understand, trust. When you see no way out, wait. When you have no strength, rest. And in all things, remember, God is still in control. Control may slip from your hands, but it never slips from God's. That certainty maintains peace in the midst of chaos. Hard moments are chapters, not the whole book. Never judge your entire story by just one page of pain. Every new day is a chance to turn the page. Do not cling to yesterday. Live today and trust that tomorrow God has already prepared. Faith is like a torch that lights the way in darkness. It does not eliminate the night, but it ensures you will not stumble. Keep that flame alive, even when the wind blows against you. True faith shines brightest on the darkest nights. If you think you cannot go on, remember, you do not have to do it alone. Christ is your strength and daily sustenance. In 1 Peter 5-7 we read, "Cast all your anxiety on Him because He cares for you." This promise is balm for troubled hearts. God does not ignore your suffering. He is not a distant spectator but a present Father, attentive to every detail of your life. His love is deeper than your pain, stronger than your fear, and more eternal than any hardship you are facing now. That is why you can rest, even in tears, because you know there is someone holding your life completely in His hands. Never let pain steal your hope. Hope is the rope that keeps your soul tied to heaven when everything on earth seems to fail. Hard moments may bend you, but they will not break you when you are grounded on the eternal rock, which is Christ. Maybe you feel weak right now, but it is exactly at that point that God's power is made perfect and His grace proves sufficient. If you made it this far, know it was not by chance. God has sustained you in other battles and will sustain you in this one too. The same Lord who parted the sea for Israel is the same who opens impossible paths today, even in the middle of your pain. Believe suffering is temporary, but victory is eternal. What God has prepared is greater than any adversity you are facing. So stand firm, lift your head, and keep moving forward. The worst day will never be able to erase the purpose God has written for your life. If this message spoke to your heart, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this word today. May God bless your life.